Before this video starts, please note that everything said in this video could change in the future, as this is a live service game and patches made after this video's release date could alter or revert changes in features. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all enjoy the video. Extremely Rares, or ERs for short, are Pokemon that tend to be highly sought after, typically by early and mid-game players, as a lot of cool Pokemon that players would like to use on their team are locked behind this rarity. We know them from the large number of them we see streaming by in the chat every day, but how can you actually get your hands on one, and what methods can you use to increase your chance of finding one? This video is going to be pretty short since there's not much to go over, which is a nice change of pace considering most of my guides are like 30 minutes long. So come along with me and let's help you get some extremely rare Pokemon. Let's start with the basics. Extremely Rares are Pokemon that have a base encounter rate of 1 in 5,000. Some extremely rare Pokemon include Scyther, Snorlax, pseudo-legendaries. For the most part, if it's a reasonably strong Pokemon, you can expect it to have a high rarity. Aside from a few, there's also a few extremely rares that have special Pokemon specific drops, such as leftovers from Snorlax and Razor Fangs from Glygars. These have a base drop chance of 30%. Now, you could just go hunt whatever you like with no boosts, just go run into the grass and hope you get lucky, but thankfully, you've got a few methods of increasing your encounter rate. The biggest and most obvious way is through the use of gold membership. You can get gold membership by using gold membership tickets. These can either be purchased from the credit shop, given to you through achievements, or picked up from mystery boxes or item bombs. You can also just go check out the global marketplace to buy a ticket off of another player. Having gold membership gives you a 50% boost to all your encounter rates, bringing your total encounter rate down from 1 in 5,000 to around 1 in 3,000. Another method is through the use of honey. Honey is a consumable item that boosts the encounter rates of all Pokemon for everyone on a specific map that you use it on by 25% for 1 hour. You can buy honey from the credit shop as well as off of other players via the global marketplace, but you can also get it from treasure chests and mystery boxes. Having honey on a map lowers your encounter rate down from 1 in 5,000 to 1 in 4,000. If you have both gold membership and honey active at the same time, your encounter rate will go down to around 1 in 2,600. But remember, this is not to say that you need gold membership or honey to be able to encounter an extremely rare. If you don't have access to these or want to save some money, you can easily just find one by grinding and getting lucky. Probably the most accessible method of lowering your extremely rare encounter rate, or any encounter rate for that matter, are swarms. Swarms happen every 3 to 6 hours, last 2 hours, and replace the encounter table with a few different Pokemon. Some ERs of note that can spawn in swarms include the starter Pokemon, Jangmo-o, and some stronger Pokemon like Scyther and Sneasel. Grinding during a swarm gives you an encounter rate boost of 25% to all encounters, as well as a 10% extra shiny chance, and Pokemon give out 25% more experience when defeated. This brings your total encounter rate down from 1 in 5,000 to 1 in 4,000. Having both gold membership and honey brings your encounter rate down to around 1 in 2,000. This next one isn't really a regular encounter boost since it's not exactly the most consistent thing, but mining has an encounter rate boost of 1.25 times for all encounters, the same as honey. Or if you're mining dark or lava rocks, this boost goes up to 2 times. This brings your total down to around 1 in 4,000. However, unless you're specifically going for a mining ER, you probably won't use this much. And finally, the last method of increasing your encounter rate is Altering Cave in Hoenn. Altering Cave has an encounter rate boost of 1.3 times for all encounters, though you'll need to pay 400k a day to gain entry. However, the spawns change every day, so you have a rotating pool of Pokemon to go through. This encounter rate boost brings you down from 1 in 5,000 to around 1 in 3,800. And that's pretty much it for extremely rares. Now, I could just end this video off here and say, hey, you've got your encounter rate information, now just go out there and hunt stuff. But you're probably questioning what's actually worth hunting. A couple years ago, I tried to give you that answer by making a top 10 list. However, I think having only 10 to choose from is too limiting, so I'm going to be putting every single ER in a tier list. From S to F, S being the best and F being the worst. I'll be judging each of these off of usefulness, which includes dexing, PvP and PvE uses, and special item drops. But obviously, before I start, this is all my opinion, and this is just a generalized ranking of how I personally perceive these Pokemon to be useful. You can disagree with me if you'd like. Also, I just want to state beforehand that I am not that well versed in PvP, so all of my ratings will be based off the wonderful rankings of Smogon tiers. Anything below RU I will be considering as not particularly good. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I get something wrong, because boy do I not understand PvP at all. PvE rankings are not going to be based off of gyms and Elite Fours, but based off of grinding spots and walling capabilities. Also, yes, I understand that these descriptions are going to be incredibly brief and generalized, but this video would be way too long if I took the time to get into specifics. Y'all ready? Here we go. Let's just go by Dex order. Bulbasaur is a solid start, having a Mega Evolution that's pretty good in PvP. You can get it through Swarms, and it's a 3-stage mon, which I think puts it at a solid B tier. Charmander, again, another Swarm Pokemon with 2 useful Mega Evolutions. A lot better than Bulbasaur, so A tier. Squirtle is also a Swarm Pokemon that has a Mega Evolution, but isn't as good as the other 2. Though it's still available through Swarms and is a 3-stage Evo, so C tier. Machop. It's a 3-stage Evo, and that's about it. D tier. Farfetch'd can surprisingly grind in Mewtwo's lair during the Easter event. I was surprised to learn that too. Other than that, however, not much use. D tier. Onix and Steelix. Has a 30% chance to drop a Metal Coat and has a Mega Evolution that's pretty solid. Honestly, I think purely because of the Metal Coat drop, A tier. Rhyhorn also has a special drop, that being the Protector, and it can be used as a niche elite killer in Ancient Dungeon. It's a 3-stage Evo as well, A tier. Kangaskhan has a Mega that's pretty good in PvP, but that Mega Stone is locked behind PvP and otherwise it isn't great. B tier literally only for the PvP usage. Scyther is really useful in PvP, has a Metal Coat drop, and can be a Swarm Pokemon. I think all that lands it as our first S tier pick. Pinsir also has a Mega Evolution that's locked behind PvP that's objectively worse than Kangaskhan's. D tier. Snorlax has a 30% chance to drop leftovers and can work on some PvP teams. That's about it though, C tier. Dratini is pretty solid in PvP, can be used as a cheaper Outrage grinder in PvE, and is a 3-stage Evo. A tier. Chikorita is basically useless aside from Dex, so D tier. Cyndaquil can be used as a lead at Tin Tower Roof, so it's really solid in PvE. It's a 3-stage Evo, and it can also be found in a Swarm. B tier for Cyndaquil. Totodile can be used in PvP, and it's a 3-stage Evo, so I think that lands it in B tier. Sudowoodo is useless, F tier. Gligar can be a Swarm Pokemon, is useful in both PvP and PvE, and has a 30% chance to drop a Razor Fang. I don't think I have to say much else, S tier for Gligar. Heracross has a Mega, and it's pretty good. B tier. Sneasel is a Swarm Pokemon, is useful in PvP, and has a 30% chance to drop a Razor Claw. You know where this is going, S tier, baby. Swinub is fairly good in PvP, and is honestly pretty powerful overall. A tier. Skarmory has always been really good on PvP teams, as well as helping PvE players wall Pokemon such as Regigigas. Like all the other Steel-type Pokemon, it also has a chance to drop Steel Wire, so A tier. Smoochum is an Altering Cave exclusive. It's literally just a Dexmon, F tier. Trico doesn't really do much in PvP or PvE. Other than that, 3-stage Evo, Swarmmon, C tier. Torchic is pretty solid. Pretty good PvE usage, 3-stage, and okay PvE usage. It lands firmly in B tier. Mudkip can be used as a great elite killer in PvE, and has some pretty decent PvP usage. A tier for sure. Mawile has been climbing the ranks since Megas were introduced into the game, and I think for that alone, it gets B tier. I can't put it higher, obviously, since it's a 1-stage mon and it doesn't have any PvE use. Numel isn't great, and its Mega isn't great either. D tier. Swablu, not terrible but not great, C tier. Feebas and Milotic can drop Prism Scales, which are used in a couple different crafting recipes. Milotic could also have a place in RU as well, so C tier. Duskull, pretty useless outside of the Reaper Cloth drop, but that one drop and the fact that it evolves keeps it out of D tier. Tropius does nothing, F tier. Snorunt has a Mega, but from what I can tell, it isn't that great. D tier. Unfortunately, Spheal doesn't do much either. It's a 3-stage Evo though, which I think is enough to keep it out of F tier. Bagon has an amazing PvP mega, and it's a 3-stage Evo. A tier. Turtwig doesn't really do much aside from being a swarm and 3-stage Pokemon, so D tier. Chimchar can be used in PvE as a lead, on PvP teams, 3-stage Mon, and a swarm Pokemon. It's absolutely an S tier pick. Piplup is pretty good on the PvP front as a utility mon, and can be used as a lead in the Distortion world. Of course, being a 3-stager and a swarm Pokemon helps it out too. S tier for Piplup as well. Bronzor has a lot of use in RU, but otherwise it's just a Dexmon, C tier. The next 3 all go to the same place. Bonsly, Mime Jr., Spiritomb, all F tiers. Gible is amazing. It's a 3-stage mon, has a solid Mega Evolution, and can work as an elite killer. It can also be used in PvP and the Battle Tower. Absolutely S tier for Gible. It has so many general uses that it might just be the best ER to go for. Munchlax is just Snorlax again, so whatever I gave Snorlax is what Munchlax gets. Skorupi doesn't really do much, D tier. Same with Snover, though it does have a Mega Evolution. Also D tier. Fiona is just a Dexmon, F tier. Snivy is really good in PvP, is a 3-stage Evo, and is a Swarm exclusive. Honestly, for all the Unova starters, the Swarm exclusivity is both a bad and good thing. Bad because they're less common, but good because they're high in price, which makes them great to sell. A tier for Snivy. Tepig is still a Swarm Pokemon and a 3-stage Evo, but otherwise isn't great. C tier. Oshawott has a PvE use as a lead in Dragon Spiral Tower, but other than Dex, it's not great. B tier. Sandile has a solid amount of usage in UU and may come back to have a PvE use once world bosses come back. Sandile gets a solid A tier. Solosis can be used in PvP, but that's about it. C tier. Fungus is also a staple in PvP. B tier. Litwick has a use in PvP as an attacker, and PvE as a wall. 3-stage Evo as well, easy S tier. Dredagon is basically just a Dexmon. It looks cool, but that's about it. F tier. Golett is terrible in PvP, but amazing in PvE as it has an encounter boosting ability and it's a ghost type. Honestly, A tier just for all the PvE stuff. Pawniard is pretty good in PvP and can be used as an elite killer on some maps. It's pretty good, A tier. Dino is pretty solid in UU, B tier. Larvesta is pretty good in PvP. I don't really have much else to say about it other than that, B tier. Chespin is really only good for Dex, D tier. Fennekin is the same, so D tier. On the flip side, Froakie is really good in PvP, A tier. Fletchling is fine in PvP, 3-stage 2, which is nice, C tier. Pancham is the only real option for false swiping ghost types and is overall pretty good for PvE. Swarm exclusive as well, so B tier. Helioptile doesn't really do much, D tier. Gumi is a pretty solid wall in RU, C tier. Klefki is obviously one of the best screen setters and support Pokemon out there, but otherwise it doesn't do much. B tier only because of the PvP usage. Noibat is alright in RU, but doesn't do much else. It's also an event exclusive, which kinda goes against it. C tier. Rowlet is another 3-stage Dexmon, D tier. Same with Litten. If doubles tournaments were a thing, it'd be higher, but still D tier. Poplio is surprisingly better than its other starter options, being a pretty good wall breaker in UU. 3-stage Evo, Swarm Pokemon, B tier. Marini is really solid in PvP. B tier just for that. Salandit is pretty good in RU, but that's about it. C tier. Minior looks cool, but that's really all it's got. F tier. Mimikyu is pretty good in PvP. B tier. Delmise. Jangmo-o is a 3-stage swarm Pokemon that's pretty good in PvP. B tier for Jangmo-o. The rest of the extremely rares are the Ultra Beasts. They're all 1-stage aside from Poipole, have no use in PvE aside from Xurkitree, and are all found in Ancient Dungeon, so my rankings are going to be based purely off of PvP. With that being said, Nihilego B tier, Buzzwole B tier, Pheromosa A tier, Xurkitree, which can also be used as an Ancient Dungeon lead, A tier, Celesteela B tier, Kartana S tier, Guzzlord F tier, Poipole A tier, Stakataka D tier, and Blacephalon A tier. Again, my PvP rankings are based purely off of Smogon overviews, so please let me know if I got something wrong and where you would put it. And with that, that covers all you need to know about extremely rares. I hope this video helped you all get a better idea of what ERs you'd like to hunt. Let me know what you guys thought of this video down in the comments below, because I love hearing from you guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.